Hello and welcome in this tutorial on how to use the financial statement analysis financial model template. This template allows you to analyze the financial statement of a target company. So by going on an inputs tab and expanding all the sections, you can see the data that is needed. So we categorize the balance sheet across different categories, and you will need to group the financial items that you find on the financial statements across these categories. So for example, for operating asset short terms, you will need to add the values related to accounts receivable, inventories, income tax receivables, and so on. As you can see, we have accounts receivable and inventory that are color coded not as an input tab, sorry, not as an input cell, because we need them at the first and second place. So do not change this. Also do not change accounts payables and cash, but of course feel free to add the remaining items that you find on the financial statements in the cell, on the cells below, and then the value for the 5 years available. We also have a version of this template where we have only 2 years as a period of analysis. So if you are interested in 2 years only, check the template out. So for example, you need to go on the financial statements of your target company and change the values that you find here. So for 2022, you find 2,500 accounts receivable and so on. You add the values here. And then you do the same for all the operating liabilities short term, operating assets long term, operating liabilities long term, and then the financial liabilities short term, financial assets short term, and then financial liabilities long term, and financial assets long term. Then of course shareholders equity, and then you can see the resulting metrics like the net working capital, net fixed asset, invested capital, and so on, that are based on the inputs above. Then you will also have a check that will tell you whether you have inputted everything correctly. So if it is true, then this means that you have properly inserted all the values in the financial statements in the right place. If it is false, now it is false because of course we have changed the accounts receivable here just earlier. If it is false, then you need to check out either if you have missed some item or if you have mislabeled some item, right? So for example, if you have added something here that is not a financial assets long term, might be a financial liability, might be an operating liability. So you need to make sure that you are adding them in the right place. We have added some guidance here on what constitutes like the most common items that you will find in the financial statements, and so that you can understand what constitutes an operating liability and what an operating asset and what a financial liability and financial assets. Of course, you also have to do the distinction between short term and long term, but this is pretty straightforward, and usually it is well described in the financial statements. Then going down, you will need to add also the income statement data. And then the remaining 2 tabs will give you an overview of the ratios, right? So we calculate all the ratios and we group them across efficiency ratios, profitability ratios, liquidity ratios, and solvency ratio. And so you will find ratios like working capital turnover, return on investing capital, EBITDA margin, of course, quick ratio, current ratio, cash ratio, and so on, interest coverage ratio, and so on. And then in the dashboard charts tab, you will see by expanding either the sections individually or all of them by clicking on the 2 here, you can see the same ratios, but via charts, so that it's easier to see how they evolve over time.